In the autumn of 1941, Finnish soldiers marched into a city that was the heart of Soviet Karelia. Thus began a 3-year phase when Petrozavodsk became the Finnish city of Aanislinna. In this comprehensive documentary, we examine second by second Finland's greatest conquest of the continuation war, life under military administration, and the dramatic retreat in 1944. The conquest was not just a military victory, but the fulfillment of a political dream known as Greater Finland. The occupation of East Karelia and the transformation of Petrozavodsk into a Finnish hub changed the lives of hundreds of thousands. Who led this operation, and what truly happened inside the city? Next, we turn the pages of history to 1941. In July 1941, the Army of Karelia, led by General Erich Heinrichs, launched a massive offensive across the eastern border. The goal was to reclaim territories lost in the Winter War. But soon, eyes turned deep into Soviet territory, towards the wilds of East Karelia. The Finns advanced rapidly, despite poor roads and stubborn enemy resistance. By September, Finnish troops had reached the Svir River and shattered Red Army defensive lines, despite frantic resistance. The next major and strategically vital target loomed to the north, Petrozavodsk, the capital of Soviet Karelia, on the shores of Lake Onega. The city was the economic, political, and military hub of the region. Lieutenant General Karl-Leonard Oesch and his the 2nd Army Corps were tasked with directing the capture of Petrozavodsk. Oesch drafted a precise strategy to encircle the city from multiple directions simultaneously. The 7th Army Corps pushed from the south along the highway and railway, while other units flanked through the western forests. The Soviet command knew the value of Petrozavodsk and ordered the city to be defended to the last man. Red Army infantry divisions constructed extensive trench and barbed wire networks, alongside vast minefields around the city. The battles on the outskirts in late September were extremely fierce, costing heavy casualties on both sides. As the Red Army realized the Finnish encirclement was closing, they initiated Joseph Stalin's scorched-earth policy. Before retreating, Soviet troops began detonating and setting fire to Petrozavodsk's industrial plants, bridges, railway stations, and public buildings. Plumes of smoke rose over the city, blotting out the sun for days. On October 1st, 1941, Finnish spearhead units crushed the final Soviet defensive positions south of the city. The remnants of the Red Army fled hastily on barges across Lake Onega, or northward, via retreating trains. The road into the empty, blazing, and silent Petrozavodsk was finally open to Finnish squads and infantry. During the night between October 1st and 2nd, 1941, Finnish infantry regiments marched into The city was a haunting sight. Fires lit by the Red Army blazed in the darkness. Thick smoke rose from the ruins, and empty streets echoed with the tramp of soldiers' boots. The air smelled of burnt wood, rubber, and war. The city was nearly deserted. On the morning of October 2nd, Finnish soldiers climbed onto the roof of the city's administration building. The Soviet hammer and sickle flag was torn down, and the Finnish blue and white flag was raised to flutter in the autumn wind over Lake Onega. This symbolic moment was captured in numerous wartime photographs and newsreels. Commander-in-Chief Gustav Mannerheim and the Finnish government made a swift and political decision. The name Petrozavodsk was erased from maps. On October 12, 1941, the city was officially renamed Aanislinna. The name referenced Lake Onega and a historical fortress. This sent a clear message to the world that the area was to be a permanent part of Finland. Following the renaming, the complete Finnicization of the city began. Soviet street signs were removed overnight. Lenin Street became Karjalan-Katu, Karl Marx Street became Kauppa-Katu, and large squares received Finnish names. Finnish was also established as the official language, instead of Russian, and all offices received Finnish signage. The military administration headquarters of East Karelia was immediately established in the city, led by Colonel Vien Kutalainen. Since the front line was only dozens of kilometers to the north, strict military discipline prevailed. The administration's task was to restore order, extinguish fires, restart vital infrastructure, and manage the civilian population. As Finnish patrols scouted the residential areas, they encountered hiding civilians. A large portion of the city's Russian population had been trapped, as there had been no time to evacuate them. The encounters were tense. Civilians feared the occupiers due to Soviet propaganda, while Finnish soldiers treated them with caution. The greatest danger during the first weeks came from booby traps and time explosives left behind by the Red Army. Combat engineers worked day and night inspecting public buildings and roads. Several large bombs were discovered and defused just moments before detonation. This dangerous clearing work cost the lives of several Finnish engineers. By the end of October 1941, the worst fires were extinguished, and life in Aanislinna slowly began to stabilize into a wartime routine. The city had become the greatest achievement of the Finnish army and its symbolic center in the east. However, 3 long years lay ahead, during which relations between Finns and locals would face their harshest test. Once the Finns had secured the city, a massive reconstruction effort began. Power plants, water mains, and bakeries destroyed by the Red Army were quickly repaired by Finnish engineers and technical experts. Running water and electricity were restored to the city, immediately improving the quality of life for both soldiers and local residents. Cultural life flourished in Aanislinna. The official Aanislinna theater was established, where Finnish actors and frontline troubadours performed to packed audiences. Theater plays, concerts, and movies provided vital entertainment and moments of respite for soldiers and Lottas amidst the daily routine of war, brightening the city's atmosphere. Sports were a central part of Finnish leisure time in Aanislinna. On the city's athletic fields and stadium, major track and field events, football matches, and pesapallo tournaments were organized between different regiments. In the winter, extensive skiing competitions were held on the ice of Lake Onega and the surrounding hills. The Finns paid special attention to the education of children. Several schools were established in Aanislinna, where Finnish teachers and education officers taught local children the Finnish language, geography, crafts, and history. The warm meals provided in schools were highly important for the children, bringing a sense of stability. The Finnish Äänislinna radio began operations in the city, broadcasting programs for both soldiers at the front and the city's residents. The radio station played Finnish, popular music, relayed news from headquarters, and broadcast cultural programs. The radio became an important link between the home front and East Karelia. The market square and commercial centers of Aanislinna gradually came back to life. Finns established shops, soldier homes, sotalaskoti, and cafes where soldiers and civilians could visit. Local residents were able to sell and exchange their products, such as crafts and berries. Market life became a place where cultures met peacefully. During the long months of trench warfare, the creation of trench art flourished among Finnish soldiers. In Aanislinna, fine Karelian birch and other materials were readily available. In their spare time, soldiers carved intricate wooden boxes, candlesticks, furniture, and even models to delight their families and Lottas. Official exhibitions of trench art were even organized in the city. The women of the Lottas organization played a massive role in the daily life of Aanislinna. The Lottas ran the city's popular soldier homes, staffed military hospitals, and were widely responsible for communications and supply. Their presence brought a touch of homeliness and comfort to the wartime city. The Lottas also organized clubs and aid for local families. The Finns wanted to leave their own architectural mark on the city. New public buildings, officer clubs, and soldier homes were constructed in Aanislinna, honoring traditional Finnish woodworking and log construction skills. Renowned Finnish architects, drafted into service, were responsible for designing many of these, and the buildings blended beautifully with Karelian nature. The massive Lake Onega offered magnificent recreational opportunities for the Finns. A Finnish lake flotilla was established in the city's harbor, and soldiers on their off-duty shifts could go sailing and rowing on the lake. In the summer, the sandy shores of Onega were filled with swimming and sunbathing Finnish soldiers, making the scene briefly look like a summer holiday. In Aanislinna, local Finnish-language newspapers and frontline journals were published, maintaining the soldiers' morale and sharing information about regional events. The papers featured poems, stories, and news from the home front written by the soldiers themselves. Field chaplains were responsible for spiritual welfare, organizing services in the restored churches. Wherever a Finnish soldier went, he built a sauna. Hundreds of log saunas emerged in and around Aanislinna, allowing soldiers to wash and relax after grueling weeks. Saunas became a sacred routine, and the Finns often invited local residents to enjoy the steam, serving as an excellent cultural bridge builder. In June 1944, the Red Army launched a crushing offensive on the Karelian Isthmus. The focus of the front shifted instantly, and Commander-in-Chief Mannerheim ordered a controlled withdrawal from East Karelia to defend the homeland. The peaceful 3-year era in Aanislinna ended, and the Finns began preparations to evacuate the city. The Finnish withdrawal from Aanislinna was executed in an exemplary, orderly fashion, without panic. For weeks, military material, industrial equipment, and valuable assets were transported back to Finland via railways and Lake Onega barges. The military administration ensured that everything proceeded according to a strict schedule. Unlike the Red Army in 1941, the Finns made a conscious decision not to employ scorched-earth tactics. They refused to detonate civilian buildings, schools, or cultural landmarks. The Finns left the city's infrastructure, such as power and water plants, fully operational so that the local population would not suffer. In the final days before departure, Finnish soldiers, teachers, and Lottas said goodbye to the local residents and children they had befriended over the years. In many schools and offices, the atmosphere was touching and wistful. The Finns distributed their remaining food supplies to the locals, wishing them a safe future. On June 28, 1944, the last Finnish military detachments boarded trains at the Aanislinna railway station. The city streets fell silent once again as the blue and white flags were peacefully lowered from their staffs. The withdrawal had been successfully completed, and the last engineers ensured no unsafe traps were left behind. Following the Finnish departure, advancing Red Army troops entered the city without major resistance. The name Aanislinna was once again erased from maps, and the city reclaimed its name, Petrozavodsk. The unique 3-year Finnish era had ended, and the city rejoined the Soviet Union. But the Finnish rebuilding was long remembered. This was the story of Aanislinna, the largest Finnish city of the continuation war. For 3 years, the Finns brought culture, sports, and reconstruction to the area, leaving a functioning city behind in 1944. Thank you for watching this feature documentary. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts.